Activities marking the 2026 edition of World Environment Day have gone underway in Buea today. Out of Cameroon, the Bunia Airport in the Democratic Republic of Congo has been reopened for public use after a temporary shutdown caused by the recent Ebola outbreak in Congo's Ituri province. And in sports, as excitement builds up ahead of the 2026 FIFA World Cup, concerns over visas and travel restrictions are creating challenges for several qualified nations. Details of these stories and more only on News Hour today. We will be right back. Hello there and welcome to today's edition of News Hour. My name is Frida Leina for presentation. As we told you in one of our top stories, activities marking the 23rd edition of World Environment Day celebrations in the Southwest region officially got underway in Buea today, June 4, bringing together government officials, environmental stakeholders, students and community members in a collective call to protect and restore the environment ahead of the official celebration on June 5. Details of the story with Nanga Sonia.
The Southwest region has joined the global community in observing World Environment Day, with activities kicking off in Buea under the theme Inspired by Nature for Climate for Our Future. The launch event held at Bongo Square brought together the regional delegate of environment, representatives from the governor's office, the Southwest regional head of public health, members of non-governmental organizations, students and community members. The gathering marked the start of activities for the 23rd edition of the annual celebration in the region, aimed at raising awareness on environmental conservation and encouraging citizens to take action against climate change and environmental degradation. Participants later embarked on an eco walk through the streets of Buea, moving from Bongo Square towards Tubak Junction before returning to the National Advanced School of Public Works.
People know the importance of the environment, especially to let people understand that it's not the ministry, it's not the government in charge of the environment that have the mission to protect the environment. It's everybody. It's a call for community to understand that alone as a government we cannot. We are going to protect the environment together with the population, with the community. So the man is in the center of the protection of the environment.
At the National Advanced School of Public Works, participants engaged in the tree planting exercise, symbolizing a commitment to restoring degraded ecosystems and promoting a greener future for generations to come. Officials highlighted the importance of rethinking daily habits, restoring damaged environments, and repairing the impact of human activities on nature in line with this year's theme.
So we are really exact. Majority of the governor of children and school because in the years to come we see that those two will grow and certainly fight against this global warming around Buea and around Tamon, as global warming is reaching universal. The environment, the protection of nature in general is very important for us because with the climate change we are not sure that if we don't have this small gathering to sensitize, to talk about, to carry action, that the future will still be better. So we are here first of all to sensitize, to take our responsibility in the protection of the nation and make sure that we promote sustainable environment, sustainable development for the future.
While the Eco Walk and tree planting exercise marked the opening phase of the celebrations on June 4, organizers say activities will continue with the official commemoration on June 5, culminating a symposium and gala bringing together environmental stakeholders, policymakers, and development partners to discuss sustainable solutions for the region. As the Southwest region marks the 23rd edition of World Environment Day, stakeholders are calling on citizens to move beyond awareness and embrace concrete actions that contribute to a cleaner, healthier and more sustainable environment.
Nanga Sonia ending that report. On to other news, the fight against drug abuse continues to gain momentum across the Southwest region. After similar actions in Limbe and Buea, residents of Ebie village in Bonge subdivision have now taken to the streets to denounce the growing consumption of illicit drugs among young people, a situation many describe as alarming and a threat to the next generation. As you tell us, Sonita Ngonye.
Concerned by the increasing rate of substance abuse and its devastating consequences, residents of Abia village organized a community-led campaign aimed at raising awareness and discouraging drug consumption among the young people. According to local sources, the initiative is being spearheaded by a united front comprising the village youth president, the women's leader, and a respected traditional figure popularly known as the elephant dance. Together, they have mobilized community members to take a stand against what they describe as a growing social crisis. Community leaders say the movement reflects their collective determination to protect the future of the village, especially its younger generation, from the dangers associated with drug abuse. The campaign has attracted widespread support from residents who believed urgent actions is needed to reverse the trend. Many parents in the community have expressed deep concerns over the changing behavior of their children, whom they say have become increasingly difficult to recognize due to the effects of substance abuse. Some residents also link the rise in drug consumption to increasing cases of theft, violence, and other forms of delinquency among the youth.
The drug abuse for this one village is too much because the picking the way they not be data with the fight war. As place gold, they don't come it all with. Instead that hard will suffer. They don't spoil all our picking them. Drug the whole place, picking the thief. They don't help their papa them. They only go take drugs. So as from today, we don't want them again.
Yes.
It's either they die or we die this today.
Yes, we are picking them. They don't finish spoil. Drug, they the thief. So drug don't spoil picking them. They spoil epilepsy. Today we don't talk say enough is enough of drug for a beer. We don't want drug again.
The grassroots initiative has been praised as an example of community-driven intervention, demonstrating how local leadership can play a vital role in addressing pressing and social challenges. Despite ongoing efforts in several towns and villages across the region, many residents are calling on administrative and security authorities to intensify awareness campaigns and strengthen measures against the circulation and consumption of illicit drugs. As communities continue to mobilize drugs abuse, the message from Abia village is clear. Protecting the next generation requires collective actions. Residents hope their effort will inspire other communities and prompt stronger intervention from authorities in the fight against the growing threat of illicit drug consumptions in the area.
Sonita Ngonye ending that report. Let's now talk religion on News Hour today. The Imam of the Mile 17 Mosque has been crowned in Boya recently as Muslim faithful of the Mbororo descent gathered to celebrate the just-ended feast of the sacrifice. Honorin Cheng sat through that event and files in the details of the installation ceremony which took place in the presence of imams, the Saki father, the Kalgama, and Alilis, to name but these. Details in the upcoming report.
The Mbororo woman is not just an ordinary woman, but the force to reckon with. She caters for the home, but above all, she is a woman of prayer. Therefore, on this premise, the Islamic Education Secretary for the Southwest region, Hilary Hamza Motanga, has cautioned the Mbororo community to educate the girl child because they have a lot to offer in terms of nation building.
If I want to congratulate some community, I will congratulate the Mbororo community first for giving that opportunity for girl child to go for school. Maybe leave that conception in those days where they said girl became early for marriage. Girl became they get potential, we will never exploit that potential. If we feel say make them married, not be a bad thing. but no give them the education wey dem deserve. If your girl pikin go school, you realize say e go do plenty things dem for your house.
The women, he adds, constitute another vulnerable population, especially widows who are sometimes abandoned to their fate after the demise of their husbands.
Another education wey me and want to we all join together. Now the one for our wives. Plenty women dey wey their master dey no dey. And if you look at carefully, that might make them suffer. So although with your powers and the power wey Allah don give you for make saving you rule your people, the first thing wey I would like you to think of now say when I talk about the education of a girl child, the widows will get within our society, within our ummah, will try to empower them.
Hilary Hamza Motanga is of the opinion that together many hands are capable of doing much work in the bid to empower this female population.
You know how if join money will make them make their tailor will make it go further. The one way they do that puff, make we struggle to join money to push and make them do that puff, make it go fine. The one way they get small store where they manage small thing will struggle to join money. Now so community grow.
The Islamic Education Secretary for the Southwest concludes on this positive note that someday in this nation, a person of Bororo descent will be head of state. Why not, if not?
Rather, that was the Islamic Education Secretary of the Southwest, Hilary Hamza Matanga, who enjoined the Bororo community in Boya to empower the girl child and most especially the women folk. He made this declaration during the just-ended Islamic feast of Barkada Salah, as you heard in the report by Honorin Cheng. Let's go back to the story where the Imam of the Mile 17 Mosque has been crowned recently as Muslim faithful of the Bororo descent gathered to celebrate the just-ended feast of the sacrifice. Honorin Cheng sat through that event and files in the details of the installation ceremony, which took place in the presence of imams, the Saki chief, the Kaigama, and the Alkalis, to name but this. Details in the upcoming report.
Imam Rashid Yusufa Haruna, the Imam of the Mai 17 Mosque, has been crowned by the Aldo for Fako. He was crowned recently in Boya as the Bororo population converged to celebrate the just-ended feast of the sacrifice. They all came to celebrate a man that has stood tall and has been found worthy in both character and learning. Imam Rashid Yusufa Haruna is not just an ordinary Islamic scholar, but the man of the pupil. The Aldo for Fako, while installing him, used the opportunity to call on the Muslim community, especially those of Bororo descent, to give him the support that he deserves.
Allah seni to yala dina men yeso kanko bo o jogoro dede alkawangal kokkuɗo mo ɓe adilaku ɓe wato ɓe ilmu ɓe adilaku ɓe muñal to kanjum waɗi o hande se mbiɗen ni assalamu nalima kanko woni alkali Bororo en nder leddi Fako.
The installation ceremony was colorful and punctuated with prayers. It also saw the presence of children, women, and men. Amongst others, a good number of imams were there to support their own, together with Sakis, the Saki father, the Kaigama, and the Alkalis, not leaving out important guests.
The 20th edition of the World Day for Responsible and Respectable Tourism has been celebrated in Kribi, South region of Cameroon. The event took place at the conference hall of L'Hôtel de Seyan under the theme Responsible Waste Management for Sustainable Tourism. Our reporter, Nathalie Njuma, has the details.
The 20th edition of the World Day for Responsible and Respectful Tourism was celebrated in Kribi, one of Cameroon's most popular seaside towns. The event that took place at the conference hall of Hotel de l'Océan was chaired by the Minister of Tourism and Leisure, Gabriel Mbairobe, joined by local officials including the Mayor of Kribi, Budila Agat. Discussions centered on the intersection of tourism and environmental protection, with an emphasis on managing coastal ways and safeguarding marine ecosystems. In his address, Minister Mbairobe emphasized that responsible waste management is a fundamental pillar of sustainable tourism and called for a reduction in single-use plastics and the promotion of recycling.
De relever pour m'en féliciter la forte mobilisation des autorités administratives et des responsables des forces de maintien de l'ordre sous la houlette de Monsieur le préfet du département de l'Océan. Cela témoigne de l'accompagnement de l'administration sectorielle sur le terrain. Monsieur le préfet, je sais que vous avez un agenda chargé, mais vous avez tenu à être physiquement présent dans cette cérémonie. Merci pour votre disponibilité.
The celebration brought together administrative authorities, local communities, tourism stakeholders, and local residents to discuss major issues such as sustainability, cleanliness, and the attractiveness of tourism destinations in Cameroon. The event featured a rich program, including cultural performances by students of the Bilingual Technical High School Kribi, as well as presentations on marine conservation by various environmental organizations. The celebration also addressed the problems currently affecting Kribi, particularly the unsanitary conditions that greatly impact ecotourism and have contributed to the decline of marine species such as turtles. Local authorities and tourism stakeholders have pledged their commitment to effectively reducing plastic and food waste so that Kribi can truly become a tourist destination. As participants toured exhibition stands and exchanged experiences on best environmental practices, the celebration served as a reminder that safeguarding Cameroon's rich natural and cultural heritage is a collective responsibility. The 20th edition of the World Day for Responsible and Respectful Tourism ended with a renewed call for action, encouraging every stakeholder, policymakers, tourism professionals, to local communities and visitors to play their part in building a cleaner, greener, and more sustainable tourism industry for future generations.
Natalie Njuma ending that report. The case concerning the death of Martinez Zogo was at the military tribunal recently in Yaoundé. New developments erupted where footages of how he was murdered was shown by a judicial expert in computer security. The digital forensic report now stands as the main focus at the military tribunal in Yaoundé, presented by Professor George Bell Bijoka, a digital forensic expert. Details with Mwambo Williams.
The Martinez Zogo murder case just took a turn that no courtroom was prepared for. And this week, that turn came from a screen. This was never just a murder trial. From the start, it was a test of whether Cameroon's justice system can look power in the eye and not blink. And at the military tribunal in Yaoundé, that test got harder. The shift began when judicial expert in computer security, Professor George Bell Bijoka, presented a digital forensic report in open court. The report was based on footage extracted from 5 mobile phones. According to testimony heard in court, 2 of those phones belonged to Justin Danway, former Director of Operations at the General Directorate of External Research. The other 3 were linked to Director General of the General Directorate of External Research, Maxime Eko. What the court saw in that footage left the room in stunned silence. The images showed Martinez Zogo, former manager of Amplitude FM, weak from torture, begging for mercy, desperate. Prosecutors say the footage confirms the brutality of his final hours after he was abducted on January 17, 2023, and his body later found on January 22nd near on the outskirts of Yaoundé. Defense teams and now challenging the authenticity of the footage and the chain of custody of the phones. But the human impact inside that courtroom was undeniable. Those present left in disbelief because this is no longer a case file. It is a face, a voice, a man broken. That footage now sits at the center of a case with a long list of accused. Among them is Justin Danway, the former operation chief of the Directorate General of External Research, who the prosecution alleged coordinated the abduction. There is Maxine Eko, the Director General of the General Directorate of External Research, whose alleged link to the phones raises questions of command responsibility at the very top of the intelligence service. Also charged is Jean-Pierre Amugu Bellinga, businessman and media owner, whom prosecutors accuse of being the sponsor, citing Zogo's radio broadcast that investigated his financial dealings. Others include Lieutenant Colonel Etundi Swe and several operatives at the Directorate General of External Research, who are accused of direct participation in the crime. Each of the accused denies the charges, and each now faces a court that must weigh this new digital evidence against months of witness testimony. So with this evidence now on record, what comes next? The law is clear. Evidence does not convict on its own. Process does. In the coming hearings, the defense is expected to attack Professor Bell Bejuka's forensic reports. They will question how the phones were seized, who handled them, and whether the footage could have been tampered with. For its part, the prosecution must do more than prove that Zogo was tortured. It must establish who ordered it, who knew, and who acted. This is where high-profile cases often collapse, not on emotion, but on procedure. Beyond the courtroom, other pressures weigh on this case. Martinez Zogo was not just a private citizen. He was a journalist whose program, Embouteillage, regularly denounced corruption and embezzlement of public funds. His murder triggered national outrage and international condemnation from press freedom groups. Can a journalist be killed after exposing corruption and the system still responds? The conclusion is Martinez Zogo's murder was meant to silence him. The footage shown in the court has done the opposite. It has forced the country to look and to remember that journalism is not a crime. The military tribunal now carries more than a case file. If this evidence is verified and if the chain of command is established beyond reasonable doubt, then the next step is clear. Prosecute without fear and sentence without favor. If not, then Cameroon must ask itself what kind of country treats a journalist's death as a file to be managed, not a life to be defended.
Let's come back to the Southwest region, where residents of Bokoko community area are in shock after a man was found dead inside his container store under unclear circumstances. Police have opened investigation as family members, neighbors and customers await answers. As you tell us, Nanga Sonia.
A cloud of mystery hangs over the Bokoko neighborhood of Boya following the discovery of a man's lifeless body inside his container store on Thursday. According to witnesses, the deceased, whose name Royal Television got as Jerome, popularly known as Papa J, was found unresponsive when concerned neighbors and nearby traders noticed that the store had remained closed longer than usual. Upon checking the premises, they discovered the man lying inside the container and immediately alerted authorities. Security forces arrived at the scene and confirmed that the man had died. The exact cause of death remains unknown. Residents expressed shock at the incident, describing the deceased as a calm and hardworking businessman who was well known in the area.
Now he safe and I expect pastor that then me I be electrician work for a door. So any money that one come, he the first come. It's to place, arrange place. I never ever come to play. Me already for more than 8 years. I never come to play. So I don't come today. I start for work, place a lock. It cost my day for 4 cost my day for people to find me. So I guess the way if I can't even night can find me, go you sleep set up. When I call in, no Sammy, I call in no answer, call in no answer. So that body work together, we all work together with the I tell you, we knock Papa J door. See they find me. In Nakam, answer. I woke up for work, I go Nakam, I say something wrong somewhere. So a brother did for family, claim me, all neighbor, send me first something. Nakam, go back, send Nakam answer. So now, climb up, bar the door, before it touches the office. We bend. I go find police in the I come back, all neighbor, as all wrong gather. We say more open as sometimes it's struggle, move forward.
Police have secured the area and say preliminary investigations are on the way. The body has been transferred to a mortuary pending an autopsy that is expected to determine the cause of death. Authorities have urged the public to avoid speculation while investigations continue. As family members mourn the loss of their loved one, the community is hoping that ongoing investigations will provide answers to the circumstances surrounding the man's death.
If you're just tuning in, this is News Hour you're listening to on Royal Television, where we beam live from Buea. We want to take you now out of the country. The Bunyan Airport in the Democratic Republic of Congo has been reopened for public use after a temporary shutdown caused by the recent Ebola outbreak in Congo's Ituri province. Plus, 5 countries have been elected by the United Nations General Assembly to join the 15-member Security Council as non-permanent members. Details with Natalie Njoma.
Traffic has resumed at Bunya's airport in DR Congo's Ituri province, the epicenter of the country's latest Ebola outbreak. The move comes after the World Health Organization reported a decline in the number of suspected cases from 906 at the end of last week to 116 as at now. Congo's transport minister has reviewed that authorities monitoring the outbreak concluded that conditions are now in place for a gradual and safe resumption of flights. Passengers welcome the news as a sign of life returning to normal. Authorities on their part monitoring the outbreak say conditions are in place for safe resumption of flights, but health and safety measures are being strictly enforced to prevent any risks of spreading the virus. As at now, official numbers stood at 321 confirmed cases and 48 deaths in Ituri province. Congolese authorities have launched a communication campaign to reassure the population that the situation is under control. In more news, the United Nations General Assembly has elected over 5 countries to join the 15-member Security Council as non-permanent members. Zimbabwe has been voted in unopposed for the African group and will be joined by Austria, Kyrgyzstan, Portugal and Trinidad, as well as Tobago for the 2-year term starting on the 1st of January 2027. The election marks a historic milestone for Kyrgyzstan, which will serve on the Security Council for the first time since joining the United Nations in 1992. Germany, which had lobbied for a seat, came third for the 2 places contested by the Western European and other groups. Zimbabwe will replace Somalia on the Security Council, which is the only United Nations body that can make legally binding decisions like imposing sanctions or authorizing the use of force. Denmark, Greece, Pakistan and Panama will also be leaving when the attempts conclude at the end of 2026. Bahrain, Colombia and the Democratic Republic of Congo, Latvia and Liberia will remain on the United Nations body until the end of 2027, providing continuity in its work. The Security Council's 5 permanent members are Britain, China, France, Russia and the United States that have the power to veto decisions. we take you over to Somalia, where people in Mogadishu's Al Wadak district have fled as gunfire has been heard near former Somali Prime Minister Hassan Ali Kai's home. Kai said in a social media post that he was attacked by government forces ahead of planned protests. Heavy gunfire broke out in central Mogadishu recently as Somalia's former Prime Minister Hassan Ali Kai said he was attacked by government forces ahead of planned protests. Somalia has fallen into yet another political crisis as President Hassan Sheikh Mohamud announced that his term has been extended for a year after it was due to expire on May 15.
And on to sports on News today, as excitement builds ahead of the 2026 FIFA World Cup, concerns over visas and travel restrictions are creating challenges for several qualified nations. Countries including Iran, Haiti, Senegal, Cote d'Ivoire and South Africa have all faced varying degrees of travel and visa-related difficulties. The issue comes as these nations prepare to add another chapter to their World Cup history on football's biggest stage. As you tell us, Kusona Claudia Voma.
With the countdown to the 2026 FIFA World Cup gathering momentum, discussions are focusing not only on football, but also on travel and visa concerns affecting several participating nations. Among them is Iran, one of Asia's football powerhouses. Iran qualified for the World Cup for the 8th time and will be making its 4th consecutive appearance after previously competing in the 1978, 1998, 26, 2014, 2018 and 2022. While the team remains on course to participate, concerns have been raised over travel restrictions affecting supporters and members of its delegation. Another nation attracting attention is Haiti. Haiti is set to make only its 2nd World Cup appearance, having previously qualified in 1974. Their return to football's greatest tournament marks the end of a 52-year-old wait, marking their qualification one of the stories of the tournament despite travel concerns affecting fans. African champion Senegal will be appearing at the World Cup for the 4th time following appearances in 2022, 2018 and 2022. The Lions of Teranga famously reached the quarterfinals in the 22 and remain one of Africa's strongest representatives. Defending African champions Cote d'Ivoire have qualified for the World Cup for the 4th time. The Elephants previously featured in the 26, 2010 and 2014 with generations led by stars such as Didier Drogba and Yaya Toure helping establish the nations among Africa's elites. Meanwhile, South Africa will be making its 4th World Cup appearance, having previously participated in the 1998, 22 and 2010, the latter as hosts. Administrative and visa proceedings and processing delays briefly affects travel preparations, but the issue was resolved. Despite the challenges, FIFA has reiterated that all qualified nations will be able to participate in the tournament. As teams finalize preparations, the focus will gradually shift from travel concerns to football itself. For Iran, a record-extending 8th appearance, for Haiti, a long-awaited return after more than 5 decades, and for Senegal and Cote d'Ivoire, while South Africa, another opportunity to represent Africa on the world's grandest football stage.
Activities marking the 2026 edition of World Environment Day have gone underway in Buea today. Out of Cameroon, the Bunia Airport in the Democratic Republic of Congo has been reopened for public use after a temporary shutdown caused by the recent Ebola outbreak in Congo's Ituri province. And in sports, as excitement builds up ahead of the 2026 FIFA World Cup, concerns over visas and travel restrictions are creating challenges for several qualified nations. Thank you so much for being part of News at Tomorrow. Catch you same time, same channel for another edition. For presentation, I've been Frida Leina. Stay tuned to more interesting programs on Royal Television. From me to you, it's a bye-bye.
no time you're entering Botswana and crossing the famous Kazungula.